let me say for individuals, there's a lot of talk about Governor Romney only paying 15%. If I were a liberal, I would tell you that's unfair and we should raise it. But I'm a conservative. So I'm going to tell you it's unfair and we should lower your tax. Our proposal is based on a model that has worked in Hong Kong. We propose that you have an option. You can keep the current tax code, your current deductions, your current paperwork, or you can have a one-page tax form. This is how much I earn. This is the number of dependents I have. Here's 15%. Now, let me be clear. This will not be revenue neutral. The establishment of Washington will throw themselves on the floor. The New York Times will editorialize ferociously. I have no intention of being revenue neutral. My goal is to shrink the government to fit the revenues, not to raise the revenues. Between the old line establishment Republicans and the pro-growth, pro-jobs, Ronald Reagan, Jack Kemp, Newt Gingrich wing of this party. I will not be the tax collector for Barack Obama's credit card. And by the way, when I left the speakership, we'd helped create 11 million new jobs with Bill Clinton in 4 years. Earlier, working with Ronald Reagan, we'd helped create 16 million jobs in the Reagan administration. My goal is to get back to 4.2% unemployment with full participation in the economy. And at that rate, you'll have so many more people working, so many fewer people on food stamps, that we're going to have lots of new additional federal revenue. So I'm not worried about generating revenue. I'm worried about creating jobs to put people back to work, because America only works when Americans are working. Take just 1 second to expand on this. Governor Romney said this week something he actually didn't quite mean to say, but he did say it, except he didn't want to say it. But then after he said it, he explained that it wasn't really what he meant to say. Because, you know, it turns out that not only does he not like firing people, but he actually loves the poor and wishes he'd said how much he loved the poor, except he didn't say that. What he said was, to be clear, he wasn't going to, and he repeated this, by the way, when he explained himself. He wasn't going to worry about the very poor because they have a safety net. I believe that is exactly wrong. And let me explain why. The safety net in its modern form is a spider web. It traps you in dependency. It traps you without skills. It traps you without habits. It traps you without networking that allows you to get jobs. I want to replace the safety net with a springboard that allows the poor to rise, to have a job, to buy a home, to pursue happiness, to be complete Americans, which means pursuing happiness, not sitting over here waiting for somebody to give them a check. If you help me tomorrow night, if you help me all day tomorrow talking to all your friends so that they help me tomorrow night, as your nominee, I intend to run a campaign in which we're going to pit the desire to be the best paycheck president in American history against the best food stamp president in American history. It is an objective fact that Barack Obama is the most successful food stamp president we've ever had. His policies have put more people in dependency on the government than anyone in history. I would like to be the most successful job-creating president focused on creating opportunities for every American of every background, which is why we want to replace the safety net with a springboard so that everybody has an opportunity to pursue happiness and to truly participate in the American concept. Now, as part of this economic growth program, we have to develop a program which focuses intensely on creating an American energy production. The fact is, if you watch around, look what's happening in the Middle East right now. You have an Obama administration which is appeasing the elements that hate us. and lying about who they are and refusing to face reality. In Egypt, you now have Americans being held hostage. This is intolerable. This resembles Jimmy Carter and the Iranian hostage crisis.
That's right.
You know, I sat at the Capitol when Ronald Reagan was sworn in. And literally, as he was giving his inaugural address, word spread among us that the Iranian hostages had left, the American hostages had left Iranian airspace, timed by the Iranians to occur immediately after Jimmy Carter ceased to be president. And the reason was twofold. One was that they despised Carter's weakness, and the other was they feared Reagan's strength. If I were president, the message to the Egyptian government this evening would be quiet, firm, unequivocal. And I suspect by sometime tomorrow morning, all of the hostages would be on an airplane coming back home. The idea that we give $1.3 billion a year to a government which arrests our citizens, a government which is showing no respect for us, the idea that their military equipment, which depends on our supplies to be competent, is going to last more than a year without our help. The idea that, remember, they've now had an election. This is what Obama thought of as the Arab Spring. The largest winning bloc are the Muslim Brotherhood. They're the moderates. The second largest bloc is more radical than the Brotherhood. This is madness. You turn to Pakistan, which we've given $20 billion to, and you find that they have arrested the doctor who helped us find bin Laden. They didn't give him an award. They didn't say, this is great, you helped find the most wanted terrorist on the planet, who happened to be in a military city in a large building 1 mile from the National Defense University. Instead, they're mad at the doctor for helping the Americans. Well, you know, I think we ought to be furious at the Pakistanis for hiding bin Laden for 7 years. But there's a serious way to send a signal to the Middle East. We need an American program of developing oil production and gasoline production on such a scale. Look at North Dakota. North Dakota right now has 3.5% unemployment. They've had 7 straight tax cuts at the state level. Why? Because by pure accident, the Bakken Formation's on private land. If it had been on government land, we would discover that western North Dakota is sacred territory, which was once home to the buffalo, and that at least 11 environmental groups would have filed a lawsuit to protect anybody from going into federal property to ruin it on behalf of energy. That's a fact. And that's where we are today. I have a very simple goal. I want us to produce so much energy that no American president ever again bows to a Saudi king, period. How do you do that? Well, I think one of the advantages I bring to this race is I've actually been there and done that. I worked with Ronald Reagan for 8 years, actually longer than that if you count the campaign. And then as Speaker of the House, I worked for 4 years. I have a pretty good notion of how Washington works. So when we campaign, with your help, if I become the Republican nominee, the first thing we'll do, although I'll be the Republican nominee, is we will run an American campaign. We will seek every American. All I'm going to say is simple. Whoever you are, whatever name.
Hey, Newt! Why do you support discrimination against gays and lesbians all the time?
My guess is, looking at the total crowd here, It's about 400. So my guess is it's 407 to 3. But they're making my point. Look, here are 3 big dividing points. I want to create paychecks. Obama's content with food stamps. Everybody in America who'd like their children and their grandchildren to earn a paycheck and be independent, we want you to join us as Americans in developing an American campaign. I believe the Declaration of Independence, stating that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, is the base of America. President Obama seems to think that Saul Alinsky and his radicalism is a better idea. If you agree with us that the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Federalist Papers are a better base than Saul Alinsky, we want you to join our campaign. I believe the world is dangerous and we need to have strategies which enable us to be so strong, so prosperous, with such a powerful economy that no one can seriously threaten us. The President believes we can be weak, we can be underdefended, we can appease our enemies, and things will work out. Everybody who thinks it's better to be strong enough to be safe, we want you to join us. Now that's an American campaign. This is a campaign with very big choices. And I think that's a key thing to understand about this election. This may be the most important election of our lifetime. And I think it's very, very important that we recognize that beating Barack Obama is essential, because if he gets reelected with this economy and this deficit and these policies, you can't imagine how radical his second term would be. And so I think it's very important that we face this fall. And there's a very simple question Republicans have to ask yourselves. When we nominate moderates, they lose. 1996, we nominated a moderate. He lost badly. 2008, we nominated a moderate. He lost badly. The fact is, when you look at his record as governor, not the commercials, but the record, Governor Romney was functionally pro-abortion, pro-gun control, and pro-tax increase. In terms of job creation, 48,000 fewer manufacturing jobs at the end of his term than when he began. The fact is, between his tax increases and Romney Care, he had the 3rd worst record of any governor in the country in job creation. Pitting that against Obama, I think, is very dubious. I don't know, frankly, and it's your governor who said it, I don't know how you take Obamacare and have the debate, because I think they're so similar that it would be very hard for them. On the other hand, you can take patient power, returning decisions back home, letting you and your doctor make the decision with no Washington bureaucrat, and you can compare that to Obamacare. Now you have a real debate. That's the difference. But there's one other difference. And I do want all of you to think about this long and hard and talk to your friends and neighbors. I believe we have to elect someone who is prepared to tell the American people the truth, who is prepared to lay out things that can be done, and who's prepared to build a team that'll do it. I helped in 1980 put together the first Capitol Steps event with Governor Reagan, and all of us came together. I helped in 1994 with 350 candidates in the Contract with America, the largest one-party increase in American history, 9 million additional votes over 1990. If you help me win the nomination, I will do everything I can to get a team to run this fall. We're going to promise a couple big things. First, that if you elect us, that the House and Senate will stay in session on January 3rd. And before I am sworn in on January 20th, they will have repealed Obamacare, they will have repealed Dodd-Frank, they will have repealed